Ever get one of those customer complaints and you're just like, ugh, not this again? Hmm. Well, get ready to flip that script because today we're diving deep into why those complaints, yeah, those ones, they're actually golden opportunities. Seriously, pure gold for any business that knows, well, how to listen. So that's our deep dive today, turning those hair-pulling moments into, well, into moments of brilliance. We're going to break down some seriously practical strategies, for turning complaints into like customer loyalty gold, especially in those crazy fast-paced call center worlds. Our main guidebook for this whole thing is how to resolve customer complaints effectively in a call center. But honestly, even if you've never like stepped foot in a call center, these strategies, they're universal. We're talking emails, those phone calls that make you want to scream, even those, awkward face-to-face situations we all try to avoid. So yeah, buckle up because this deep dive, it's packed with insights you can actually use. One thing that really jumped out from this guide is how crucial it is to really go beyond just, hearing a complaint. It's about making that customer like truly feel heard. It might sound kind of simple, but think about it. How many times have you walked away from a conversation and you're like, man, they just don't get it? This guide, it really hammers that point home with this quote. When a customer calls with a complaint, their main need is to feel heard and understood.
Yeah.
It's like their emotions are like all tangled up, right? And when we listen with empathy, we're kind of helping them untangle that mess. It even goes as far as suggesting like specific ways to change how we talk, to really boost that whole empathy thing. So instead of a boring, I'll look into that, imagine hearing, wow, I totally get why this is so frustrating for you. Let me see how I can fix this fast. I mean,
Yeah.
which one of those makes you feel better just hearing it?
The fascinating thing is it's not just about being like nice, it's really about the psychology of how we calm things down. Active listening, empathy, it's like this magic trick that disarms people, When someone feels heard, they're less likely to come out swinging, right? And that makes it way easier to find a solution that everyone feels good about.
It's like you're shifting from like those boxers in the ring,
Yeah.
to being on the same team, working towards the same goal. And this guide, it doesn't just like throw these big ideas at us and disappear. It gets into the nitty-gritty of how to stay cool when things get, heated. I mean, it's one thing to be all zen when someone's praising your amazing service, but when you're like on the receiving end of a customer's frustration, it's a whole different ballgame. The source, it talks about how important it is for those agents to stay, calm, professional, no matter what's thrown at them.
It's this thing called emotional contagion, We pick up on the vibes of those around us. So if you have a calm agent, it's like it can actually spread. They can help that frustrated customer, find their own calm. Think about those times you've run into someone who's like totally freaking out. If you match that energy, it just explodes, right?
Right.
But if you can stay grounded, it's like it creates this space for everyone to breathe.
It's like you're like a calming presence in the middle of this storm, which can make all the difference. But it's not about, expecting these agents to be superhuman, right? The guide, it really emphasizes how important it is to give them the actual tools to manage that stress. We're talking like actual stress management training, even role-playing to help them like build up those composure muscles. So you've got the empathy down, you're a calming force. Now it's time to channel your inner detective. Because just like figuring out a mystery, you can't fix a problem if you don't have a clue what you're dealing with. The source calls it gathering all the intel needed for a tailored and effective solution, which, it makes sense. It's not just about slapping a Band-Aid on the situation and hoping for the best. It's about really understanding what's at the root of it, the customer's history, even those previous attempts to fix it, which sometimes there are a lot.
And that's not just some call center wisdom, is it?
Yeah.
That's like problem solving 101. Think about it. Whether it's a customer complaint, a tech issue that's driving you up the wall, even a fight with a friend or family member, the more information you have, the better prepared you are to actually find a solution that sticks.
I love how you connect that back to like our everyday lives. And the guide, it even gets more practical, like way more practical.
Yeah.
It actually recommends using checklists or even scripts just to make sure those agents are, consistently getting all the need-to-know stuff during those calls. Think about it from your own experience as a customer. Isn't it annoying when you have to repeat your story like a million times?
Yeah.
This consistency thing, it helps avoid that whole mess, making sure nothing gets, lost in the shuffle.
And it's not even just about being, thorough. It's about building trust. When you know there's an actual system in place, that someone's like really paying attention to what you're saying, it makes you feel so much more confident about the outcome.
That feeling of, okay, they've got this, can totally change the entire experience.
And speaking of feeling confident, can we talk about how important it is to actually have a clear solution? Because what's worse than having a problem in the first place? Not knowing how to actually fix the darn thing.
The guide, it really emphasizes how important it is to use like simple language.
Yeah.
No technical jargon, just explanations that actually click. It's about meeting the customer where they're at, not making them feel like they're, lost in a maze of tech terms they don't understand.
Think about a time when you were like super stressed out or frustrated. Our brains, they just don't work as well, when we're in that state. So when you offer these clear and concise solutions, you're not just addressing the actual issue, you're giving them a sense of control, which can be like incredibly reassuring when you're, in the middle of a tough situation.
It's like that sigh of relief when you finally get it. And the guide, it gives this perfect example of what this looks like. Like in real life, we'll ship out a replacement and you should get it in like 3 to 5 business days. And in the meantime, we'll shoot you an email with that tracking number so you can, keep an eye on it.
No more guessing games, no more like wondering what's going to happen next. Just crystal clear communication. I mean, it sounds so simple, but when you're in like the heat of a customer service nightmare, that clarity, it can completely change the game.
Totally. You're not just telling them what's up, you're showing them that, like, you've got this. And here's the thing, the journey doesn't just end there. This next part, this is where so many companies, they totally drop the ball.
Yeah.
And it's such a simple thing, but it's so powerful. Following up, it's easy to think, okay, solution's been offered, case closed, right? But the guide, it really stresses how important it is to like close the loop, to make sure that the issue is actually resolved, not just forgotten about.
Yeah. It's all about going above and beyond. Imagine you're the customer, right? Would you rather get like a robotic confirmation email or a message from an actual human that shows they actually like care about your experience?
That personal touch, it makes all the difference. It turns what could be just a transaction into something that feels, well, more human. And the source even suggests like building a system for this, whether it's, agents reaching out themselves or using automated messages that still feel, like a real person wrote them. It's about finding that balance between being efficient and being real. Okay, you ready for things to get like really interesting? This guide, it goes way beyond just fixing these individual complaints. It's about using those complaints to actually grow, like taking those lemons everyone's throwing at you and making it like the best lemonade ever.
Oh, absolutely. This is where the magic of continuous improvement comes in. Every single complaint, I don't care how small it is, it's a chance to learn, to get better, to turn those products or services into something even more amazing. It's like they say, feedback is a gift.
Yeah, right? And this guide, it doesn't just like leave us hanging with a catchy phrase.
Yeah.
It actually encourages companies to like dive into that data, the data from the complaints, to look for patterns, those recurring issues that just keep popping up. Because wouldn't it be amazing to get ahead of the problem before it even becomes a thing?
Exactly. It's about being proactive instead of reactive. It's about figuring out the root cause of those complaints instead of just like slapping a bandage on the symptoms. This whole data-driven approach, it's essential for making good decisions about like where to focus your energy, how to streamline things. It's about, working smarter, not harder.
Now imagine you're the one on the front lines of all these customer interactions. You're seeing those pain points every single day. Wouldn't it be amazing to actually have the power to like do something about it? That's what I loved about this part of the guide, this emphasis on empowering those agents. We're talking about actually giving them the authority to like offer discounts, refunds, even other types of compensation without having to like run it up the flagpole every single time.
It's a win-win, right? For the customer, it means a faster resolution, and for the employee, it's incredibly empowering. It shows them that the company actually trusts them to make judgment calls, and that does wonders for morale.
It's like it creates that sense of ownership, like, hey, I can actually make a difference here. But of course, with great power comes great responsibility. Am I right? The guide acknowledges that it's not enough to just like give people this power. They need clear guidelines, proper training, a framework to make those decisions. It's about finding that sweet spot between giving them freedom and making sure they're accountable.
And when you can do that, you create a culture where people feel valued, heard, empowered to do their absolute best work. And let's be real, when employees are happy, customers are happy. It's a ripple effect.
It's that positive energy loop that we could all use a little more of, right? So to recap all this amazing advice from how to resolve customer complaints effectively in a call center, it really comes down to a few main things. You ready for this? Number one, active listening and empathy. Those are non-negotiables. We're talking about like really stepping into their shoes, making them feel heard and understood.
Number two, staying calm, staying professional, even when you want to pull your hair out. Remember that whole emotional contagion thing?
Yeah.
Your calmness, it can be contagious.
Oh, for sure. Number three, gather all the information. It's like putting together a puzzle. The more pieces you have, the clearer the picture becomes.
Number four, clear and concise solutions. Ditch the jargon, keep it simple, and make sure they know exactly what's going to happen next.
Number five, the follow-up. That one thing that everyone forgets, but they can turn a satisfied customer into like your biggest fan.
Number six, complaints. They're not the enemy. They're opportunities to grow, to try new things, to make your products and services even better.
And last but not least, empower your people. Give them the tools, the knowledge, and the trust to make decisions and fix things on their own.
What's really cool about all this is it goes way beyond just customer service. These strategies, they work in any situation where you're dealing with conflict, where you're trying to improve something, even just trying to connect with people on a deeper level.
It's about changing how we think, going from dreading those complaints to actually seeing them as like these valuable pieces of information. It's like suddenly seeing the world in a whole new light.
It really is. And what's even more interesting is how these principles they apply to our own lives, to all those messy, those human interactions that we all have.
It's kind of wild, right? How just like shifting your perspective a little can make such a huge difference. We go from like dreading those complaints to actually getting excited about them.
Yeah.
It's like we've unlocked some secret level or something.
Totally. And you know what's even cooler? How this stuff goes way beyond just like customer service. We're talking about using this in our everyday lives, in all those messy human interactions we have.
Yeah. That's what I love about this whole deep dive. It's not just about, business or whatever. It's about like becoming better at communicating, better at listening, just better humans.
Yeah, exactly. Like imagine having a fight with a friend or your family, right? But instead of like going at it the usual way, you approach it with these principles we've been talking about, the active listening, the empathy, really, really trying to see things from their side. It could totally change everything.
It's like taking those customer service glasses off and realizing you can wear them everywhere.
And speaking of, different hats and all that, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about empowering employees. It makes so much sense when you really think about it. Those employees on the front lines, they're the ones who are like right there in the thick of it, seeing all the problems firsthand. They're like warning signals, letting us know what's going wrong before it becomes a huge disaster. Oh, absolutely. And yet so many companies, they miss it. They stifle all that creativity, all that insight instead of like using it. It's like that saying, the people closest to the problem are closest to the solution.
So true. But building that kind of culture, where people feel like they can actually speak up, share their ideas, that takes work, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. It's about making people feel safe.
Yeah.
Psychologically safe, like they can take risks, share what they're really thinking without being afraid of getting like shut down or punished for it.
It's about creating a space where everyone feels heard and valued,
right?
From the CEO all the way down. Because I mean, at the end of the day, we all want to feel like we're part of something bigger,
For sure. And when you can create that, the results speak for themselves. You've got happier employees, happier customers, and a stronger business overall. Everybody wins.
It's that like positive chain reaction we need more of. So before we wrap up this amazing deep dive into the whole art of like turning complaints into customer love fests, I want to leave everyone with something to think about. We've talked about how businesses can use all this, but how can you, as a person, actually apply this stuff to your own life.
How can you become a better listener, a more empathetic friend, a better communicator in everything you do?
It's about like being open to those aha moments, right? Those opportunities to grow and connect that often hide themselves as well as complaints. Because let's be real, nobody actually likes to complain.
Right.
But sometimes those complaints are exactly what we need to connect, to learn, to become better.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's about changing our perspective, seeing those complaints not as annoyances, but as chances for positive change.
And on that note of embracing the power of a fresh perspective, I want to thank you all for coming along on this deep dive with us. Remember, those complaints, they're not the end. They're just the beginning.